Hey everyone, welcome to the franchise, episode 51. I'm your host, Daniel Ehrenberg.
I'm your co-host Henry Papali, or as I wanted to say, is it episode 51 or area 51?
Oh, I like it. It's because we're covering alien movies, and that's where they supposedly kept the aliens after the crash at Roswell.
That's right.
Yeah. Alright, but today, we're not covering the seminal WB show Roswell. We're covering Alien Cubed and Alien Resurrection.
That's right. It is Alien Cubed.
That's right.
Yeah.
No, Alien 3 is how you're supposed to pronounce it, even though it's got that tiny little 3 up there.
Yeah.
Like it's Alien to the third power.
Yeah.
And this baby is directed by the voice of a generation. Not really, but honestly, one of the best filmmakers working today, maybe top 5, David Fincher.
I don't know if it's been ever said on this show, but as Dan knows, probably he's my favorite director of the younger generation.
Of the younger generation, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not mine, but up there
Yeah.
for me. Yeah. Let's get in right there. What better way to start than talking about David Fincher's career?
All right.
Because, the guy's unimpeachable. Listen, he's made many movies, and here we go. Top 5 David Fincher films, Henry.
Okay.
Because I feel like the top 4 is going to be the same for everybody.
Okay.
All right?
Do you have a list in front of you?
No, but off the top of my head.
Oh.
Tell me if this is different for you. Your top 4 David Fincher movies.
Okay.
You're going to have Seven on there.
Yeah.
You're going to have Fight Club on there.
Yeah.
You're going to have The Social Network on there.
No.
That's crazy.
Not really.
You're going to have Zodiac on there.
Yeah, remember, he's my favorite director. This is tough for me to pick 4.
I feel like
So
Seven...
this isn't like picking other directors. Like, I love everything the guy's ever done. So...
Listen,
But
Seven,
go ahead.
Fight Club, Social Network, and Zodiac. 4 masterpieces. Those are his 4 masterworks, as far as I'm concerned. Social Network being my favorite, as you know.
Yeah.
And, to me, you can name any of his other films as your number 5, as long as it's not Alien 3. And possibly The Curious Case of Benjamin Button.
No, stop.
Which I like, but it's
Yeah.
not in the top 5.
You could, yeah, because you could say, you could make that 5th film The Game.
Sure.
You could, there would be, it wouldn't be me, but there would, I think there's a case to be made for Panic Room.
I agree. I think there's a case to be made for Gone Girl.
And Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
I agree.
Yeah. I mean, you're right about being unimpeachable. So I agree with your 3 there: Zodiac, Seven, and Fight Club. The 4th, that's a tough call for me. It might be something like The Game or Benjamin Button. I don't know. I'd have to think about it because
Okay.
I had kind of a renaissance with The Game a long time ago where it really went up in my book.
Oh, it's a great movie.
Yeah. I didn't like it when I first saw it.
I did.
Yeah.
I saw it in theaters, actually. I don't remember
Oh,
why.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first, actually, this was the first Fincher movie I ever saw in theaters, Alien 3. I was very young, but I didn't I wasn't into film, as we've discussed. Like, the two of us have talked about how, when did you get into identifying directors? I could have cared less who
It was
did it.
Spielberg, Jurassic Park. That was my first.
Yeah, well, for me, it was not a movie-going experience. It was watching a movie on TV. It would have been Stanley Kubrick with Clockwork Orange and 2001. It was a double shot, and then I was like, oh, okay. Or, well, actually, with the exception of Woody Allen. He was really the first one whose films I went to see in the theater because they were Woody Allen films. So
Interesting.
yeah, that's definitely true. But Fincher, I didn't really get into until I saw again on TV when I saw Seven, and I loved it. And then when I did see The Game again on VHS, I wasn't really into it. But by the time Fight Club came out, I had that little renaissance of having seen The Game and Seven so many times. I was like, okay, I fucking love this guy, and I can't wait for the next thing that he does. And then I guess when I saw Fight Club, that probably was when I started saying he's the best. He's my favorite.
Fight Club was when I put 2 and 2 together with Fincher because
I think me too. Yeah.
I'd seen all his movies. IMDb wasn't really a thing yet in 1999, and so I remember when Fight Club came out, looking up what his what else has this guy made? I want to see them all. And then it was like, oh, I've already have and enjoyed them, so I guess I like this guy.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, we'll get a little more into how he came to this and all that.
Well, he was a music video guy. He got the gig from that. It was originally offered to a bunch of other filmmakers. I think originally Renny Harlin was going to direct Alien 3.
That's right.
Previously, haven't we talked about him? He directed Die Hard 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Renny Harlin was going to direct a William Gibson script. And William Gibson is this cyberpunk fella. I've read a couple of his novels, and they don't have characters. He's one of these writers that he has ideas. It's all ideas. But, like, no one could care about the fucking people.
Yeah.
And, I think he wrote a couple episodes of The X-Files, too. Like, Chris Carter was a fan of his. And so I think that was the problem with the script. Like, Renny Harlin didn't get attached to William Gibson's script, and they were working on it, and then they were working on it for so long that he just, like, booked out. And apparently left to go direct The Adventures of Ford Fairlane with Andrew Dice Clay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fine choice.
Then they got this fella Eric Red to write a script without Ripley. Eric Red famously wrote Near Dark, one of my favorite movies of all time.
Great movie.
So I would love to read his script, which I haven't. And then David Twohy wrote a draft of the script. And he apparently later reused some of the ideas from his script when he wrote Pitch Black.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And then there was an unproduced Alien 3 script that I've actually read, Henry.
Really?
How about that?
Wow.
Yeah, I used to be into reading unproduced screenplays for a while.
Where did you used to acquire them?
Early internet was flush with them.
Okay.
You'd find websites that would just print them. And then, like, once studios got a hold of the internet, a lot of these screenplays became tougher to find. You'd have to, like, download them on Napster or something. But originally they were just on, like, some fucking nerd's website, you know? So, in looking through this nerd's website, I got a hold of the Vincent Ward version of Alien 3.
Oh, so you've read the wooden planet
Yes,
thing.
yeah, that
Okay.
one. So
right.
it's a wooden planet that is entirely inhabited by like Luddite monks.
Yeah.
And they see and Ripley's ship crash lands on there, and they see her as a god that was sent to them.
Yeah.
And it's kind of an interesting script, but it's not super action-packed, and I can see why they didn't make it.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember liking it when I read it. I got
That's
through it.
interesting.
There are plenty of unproduced screenplays I started and didn't make it through.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
I'm looking at you, Michael Chabon's draft of Spider-Man 2.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, they ended up still sticking with Vincent Ward as a story credit just because of the basic idea, I guess, of a planet full of men.
Yes, some of the prison planet stuff is from the script. I don't think any of the same dialogue, but I think like who's the character? What is it? William Hope or something? Who plays like the dude Ripley bangs?
Oh, Michael Biehn.
No.
Oh, in this one,
one.
Charles Dance.
Charles Dance, yeah.
The Golden Child's Charles Dance.
Ugh, listen to you. But yeah.
By the way, I love that you referenced just a random Marine from Aliens. That was William Hope. That was Gorman.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess that name stuck in my brain. But yeah, Charles Dance, that character is similar to one of the characters in the Wooden Planet script.
Okay.
So
right.
that, they took bits. But anyway, they ended up making a version written by David Giler, Walter Hill, and Larry Ferguson.
Yeah.
Walter Hill, always just attached to these movies.
I know. I love Walter Hill. Hopefully we'll get to... Well, we will cover him.
You love Walter Hill?
I like Walter Hill.
There you go.
Yeah, we'll cover him, actually, when we do 48 Hours.
That's true. Yeah, we will.
Directed that.
Well,
I happen to see, before we get into stats and stuff, just a little background on this. I looked everywhere because I do not own, as I'm sure you do not, I do not own the Alien Quadrilogy Blu-ray 2003, whatever.
You
thing.
own Alien 3 on DVD, though. I bought it for you for your birthday.
Right. That's how I still have it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I remember I specifically asked you. I said I really would prefer the triple pack.
yeah. You didn't want 4.
No. But I looked everywhere because I was reading about this so-called assembly cut that was made without Fincher's approval. But I didn't really want to see the assembly cut, but I wanted to read about it or hear about it because it's the movie that. Because full disclosure, I'm sure we'll talk about it. Fincher disowned this movie. It was a hell of a. This movie is like maybe to this point I could be wrong here. 50 episodes in, but maybe the biggest example of studio interfering with an inexperienced film director, right? Just fucking with him the entire way.
Yeah, I mean, both of these are. I'll say this: after such a graceful transition between Alien and Aliens, boy, did the studio fuck up. They really screwed the pooch on 3 and 4, and it's so weird because they spent so much time and money developing both of these movies with different writers and different premises and different storylines and different characters, and both films ended up starting filming without a finished script.
Yeah.
How does that happen if they're such fucking perfectionists about getting a script together?
Right.
How did they just start shooting without anything done?
Let me tell you what I ended up finding on YouTube. Apparently, the actual documentary is available on that Quadrilogy set or in a edited version because Fox still didn't like what people said about Fox. So I found a 1-hour version of the production on YouTube. And it was great. And it was so unfiltered. And they got everybody except Fincher, of course. They had a guy from the studio, a couple of guys from the studio, and the editor of the movie, and the cinematographer of the movie, and the composer of the movie. And they just, in separate interviews, were just talking about what a fucking nightmare this was. And of course, you instinctively are siding with the editor and the cinematographer because everything that the Fox guys say is just Well, look, you got to understand. I mean, this was just something we were trying to get together, and I think it was. And they really have nothing good to say about Fincher, but they're treading lightly because, of course, the documentary was made years after. So now Fincher's, fucking David Fincher. But the funniest part of what is available on YouTube is that I've never seen anything like this. Every time an editor or an actor like Michael Biehn is interviewed, anytime one of the actors or anyone against how it was done starts to say a sentence that has the word Fox in it, it cuts.
That's amazing.
It just cuts. So, like, the editor will be saying something like, it was just really a shame because David had all these amazing things in the beginning about the planet that they went to, and it really just gave a lot more character development. But, then the studio came in and and it happens every time. And it was it's like, wow. So you took it out, but we all know where that was going. So, anyway, Fincher had a hell of a time, but if you could check that out, you can find that on YouTube, at least the 1 hour version, if you don't already own it in some fashion. But
I don't.
Really,
I'd be into watching that.
Yeah, it's only an hour, and it's worth it because of the unfiltered. Besides that, the unfiltered opinions of everybody, and the studio heads. They're just such studio heads. There's just like it's the stereotypical, like Joel Silver type. And he's just like sitting there and just like, well, there are things to, we're running overtime and, we didn't have a script and, I don't know who, there's many people to blame and, all that kind of stuff.
Sure,
but,
of course.
Anyway.
So Alien 3 ends up coming out finally on May 22nd, 1992. And boy, does it look it.
That's an interesting comment because we're going to talk a lot about the look of the movie.
I certainly will.
Okay.
It comes in with a budget of $55 million, a box office of 159.8. So it did okay.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't hardly a flop, but
yeah, not what you want though.
No,
Came in at number 28 in the box office.
Oh, that's pretty. Yeah.
Just above My Cousin Vinny and Sneakers.
Oh, I thought My Cousin Vinny was a bigger hit.
No. How about this, though? It got beat by Forever Young and Beethoven.
Oh, boy.
Stay tuned for our Beethoven coverage.
Boy, that's a slap in the face.
Yeah, slap in the face from a St. Bernard's tongue.
That is a slip in the bias.
Oh. It did get one Oscar nomination, visual effects. It lost to Robert Zemeckis' Death Becomes Her.
Yeah. That's silly, but okay.
Well, Death Becomes Her had good visual effects.
I don't remember. Did it?
Yeah. Remember that candelabra through her chest and shit?
No.
Yeah. All right, so the plot. You want me to do it?
Yeah, because I want your feelings as you go along on what happens at the very beginning, which was a big part of the consternation revolving around this film.
All right, so it opens on a series of quick cuts. We see there's an alien aboard Ripley's ship. We're picking up right when aliens left off. Everyone's in their cryopods. Then the alien rips through them. Hicks and Newt die immediately. Obviously the only characters we cared about in the last movie, so that's good. Then the ship crash lands on a prison planet.
Yeah.
It's a real escape from New York situation. The prison planet is entirely comprised of British soccer hooligans and Charles Dutton. And
oh, that's good. Yeah. A couple of American characters, but they're not. They barely have any
they're
dialogue.
all just characters from Guy Ritchie movies.
Yeah. They're filming in London, so they didn't even bother to import anybody.
No, it's ridiculous. It's like
I don't mind it though.
Who's that guy? I'm Frankie Four Fingers.
Yeah.
And then I don't know what planet they are being imprisoned on. Like, you know, they're sent to prison clearly from a planet that has no use for them anymore.
I was always just assuming Earth.
Is it a planet soccer hooligan? Is it?
It's Planet Mean Machine.
It's Planet FIFA.
Planet Snatch.
Yeah. So, Ripley.
I guess they all got swept away.
Swept away. Oh, Guy Ritchie reference. Got it. Okay. Ripley is the only survivor of this crash. Of course, she's a real survivor. It's a real Richard Hatch situation, and she has shorter hair than she did in Aliens. So I guess the cryopod gives you nice haircuts.
Maybe.
And you know, once she realizes Hicks and Newt are dead, she super doesn't give a shit, even though she was planning to raise Newt.
It's not true at all.
It is true.
What are you talking about?
Meanwhile, there's a dog running around with like rabies. It looks like the dog from that early 90s horror movie Man's Best Friend. And a chest burster pops out of him. It looks pretty good. But it's sad because I don't like animal cruelty in these movies.
It's tough, yeah.
Yeah.
It was originally going to be an ox.
Really?
Yeah, because they filmed the prisoners. That's how they get around. That was one of the things Fincher put in, was how they're so primitive on there. They have no technology left because they've been abandoned pretty much.
I think that might be from the Wooden Planet screenplay.
Yeah, but they pushed things along with an ox. Ripley had actually washed up on the beach.
Oh,
and there was a whole scene. I even saw that in
that's
this.
That's so much more interesting.
I know, and I even saw that it's in the documentary I saw on YouTube, where there's actually a whole sequence where Charles Dance picks her up off the beach and carries her body all the way back to the base, and it just like kind of shows his humanity, and you know, it's fantastic.
Well,
yeah.
You don't want to see his humanity too early, because there's a lot of like, oh, what is this guy's motives?
Yeah, right, but you know, it's Fincher, so it was done in a clandestine manner. The filming, I mean, I saw it. It's really stuff that could have been left in there. There's no
in that version. Does Charles Dance and Ripley bang on the beach like in From Here to Eternity?
I don't know. It might have been one of the studio's issues.
Maybe.
They probably wanted to put that in there. Fincher probably took it out.
So no one on the prison planet believes that there's an alien floating around until they see it murder, like, one guy. I guess a warden?
Well, yeah, that's the scene where I guess it's, like, fully revealed, but it's, like, in pockets it's revealed. Where the guy who owns the dog is sucked into the air shaft.
Yeah,
and which has actually one of my favorite lines in the movie, when Charles Dance is like asked to go there and kind of assess the cause of death, and he just says to the warden, he's like, "Well, no mystery here. He was sucked into the air shaft. Death was instantaneous." And the warden's assistant goes, "No shit."
All right.
There's a lot of good lines in this movie.
No, there aren't.
Yes, there are. They still make me laugh.
Now, I gotta say,
I love this movie, so whatever.
All right, we're gonna be at odds here.
Huh.
Henry, I always considered Alien 3 underrated. Now, I think the people that see this movie as underrated are overrating it.
I direct you to a fantastic article that I found while looking up this movie, and yes, I did a little research that went beyond Wikipedia.
IMDb trivia?
No, from Vox.
Oh.
And it's this really lengthy article on why this movie not only is underrated, but pretty fucking great. And it's really a very literate and cool article. I Google Alien 3 Vox, and you can check it out. I think it's a well-written article. You would obviously probably disagree with everything in it, but for me, it just reaffirmed my opinions.
I gotta tell you, my biggest problem, and this is surprising, because
tell
it's
me.
directed by David Fincher, is the look of it.
See, that's interesting, because I love the look of it. I remember Roger Ebert hated this movie, and he said, I didn't look this up, I just never forgot the line, because I've applied it to other movies I've seen now. I've stolen his line. He said it was one of the best looking bad movies he's ever seen.
I think it looks like shit.
Really?
Yeah. I think everyone's swimming around in soup in this movie. It looks like Jason Goes to Hell.
Oh, I don't think so at all.
Dude, there was a weird aesthetic happening in the early 90s. And I think it comes from the boiler scenes in the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. But everything's gotta be fucking beige, with like lights flickering and shit. You know what this movie really reminded me of?
What?
Fucking Hellraiser.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't seen that in a very long time, but I mean, okay. See, I think this is already, despite all the turmoil that surrounded this movie, I still think Fincher is, as you would say, Finchering all over this film.
I agree, but
I mean,
he hasn't figured it out yet.
Oh, I think he has. I think he knows what he's doing.
There are some shots. There are some shots that look good, but like this thing is an ugly movie to look at.
I'm not disagreeing with that, but it's a beautiful ugly.
No, it's not. And after all the great puppetry in Aliens, the fucking CG in this movie,
that I agree with.
And it's all over the place.
Yeah, I was surprised at that, because I've seen this movie a bunch of times, but I haven't seen it in maybe 5 years, and I was surprised at that. I didn't remember that the actual aliens' movements itself are not very good.
It looks like a computer creation completely. It looks like I'm playing fucking Myst here.
Yeah, but it's not even fully CGI efficient. It looks kind of like a clumsy mixture of puppetry and CGI.
The alien looks like garbage in this
and that's
movie.
Too bad, because it could have been really, really cool, because because of the alien coming out of a dog, it's like takes a dog's type of movements, and that counts for all the weird camera work going upside down and all that kind of stuff. But
that's terrible too. All the alien POV shots in the second half of this movie
during like the tunnel sequences.
Oh, awful!
Yeah, I liked it.
How do you like that?
I thought it was cool. I thought it was very riveting.
You're watching the movie through beer goggles half the time.
No, man, I didn't think so. I did not. I don't agree. Because I guess the movie, and I know you're big on style. The movie is extremely stylish, and the movie is. Here's what's going for the movie. All right, and so in my opinion. All right, I think that all of the performances are very cool and very good, and I think it's got a sense of humor. I think it's extremely dour, a little too dour, a little too dark.
Everyone's cursing constantly for no reason.
But, well, they're fucking prisoners.
I guess.
They're not
it just feels like 1992. Like, amp up the gore. Everyone's got to fucking swear like a sailor.
We'll get to that in the next movie.
It's worse than this one.
The swearing?
Well, it's bad in both, but I think that's where they went. Like, that was the 90s.
Well, okay. I mean, that didn't bother me, but I mean, I think the direction and the performances, and for the most part, I liked the plot. I thought it was just a very cool idea. I mean, I thought it was a cool idea, and I think they pulled it off. I really do. I don't see. I get the problems that people have in its departure from the second one, but I always felt that the main problem people have with the movie is that Hicks and Newt are so unceremoniously disposed of.
Listen, I knew that going in.
I know you did.
So I tried to set it aside.
The ending too is just, it's a real downer ending.
Well, Ripley dies, which I think could be good. She sacrifices herself to save, so Wayland Yutani doesn't have the whatevers, the samples of Alien,
right.
And so she falls backwards into a pool of molten lava or something,
which was I saw in the documentary completely postally. What am I looking for?
Done in post.
Hastily done in post.
Yeah, and, of course, because it's done on a garbage green screen and it looks like shit.
Yeah, and
it totally saps any emotion you might have gotten from that moment.
Right, and the alien coming out of her chest was also done in post.
Yeah, that looks like shit too.
That wasn't supposed to happen.
And she's like cradling it to her chest like it's a baby. So like, I don't know. Like Newt dies at the beginning of this movie.
She's very upset about that.
For a second.
Oh, and she's destroyed. She has to do an autopsy scene, which is brutal.
I mean,
which apparently was worse.
I don't understand why kill off Newt and Hicks at the beginning of this movie. Why can't they just survive and be in this movie?
Right. Well, I mean, of course, that would go back, I guess, to the writing, right? I mean,
I think it was a studio mandate, though, of the writers.
Yeah. Michael Biehn not happy, but got paid for the use of his likeness.
Oh, got paid handsomely.
As much as he made for being in the Aliens movie.
Amazing.
So, yeah.
Good for you, Biehn.
Yeah, I agree.
And fucking... So like, that moment where the chest burster pops out of her chest as she's falling into the lava, and she sort of cradles it like it's a baby...
Yeah, I never really thought of it like that. I always thought she was just trying to keep it from escaping, but
no, that's what I thought, and it just made me think of Newt, like that. She could be missing Newt or something, and her own daughter. It's sort of like Ripley's always wanted to be a mother, and her kids keep dying on her. She's the fucking shittiest mother that's ever existed, and. So,
well, can I ask you a couple of things about just some other technical aspects of the movie?
Go ahead.
I was looking at the cinematographer who was replaced because the first guy came on for a week and was suffering from severe Parkinson's and he had to go home ill. And yeah, that's footage from the YouTube.
Did he shoot the POV shots? Is that why they're so shaky?
Oh God, yeah, because it shows Fincher working with him and. No, so they got a guy, Alex Thompson, who has a rather distinguished, fantastical pedigree.
What, does he work with Clive Barker a lot?
No.
I'm telling you, I was expecting a Cenobite to pop out at any moment in this movie.
You want to hear, I wrote down 5 movies that probably made this guy his reputation.
Hit me.
One of them is one of my favorite movies, and another one has already come up on this show, but... Okay. It explains some stuff in this movie, the way it looks, but still looks like Fincher. So, we got Labyrinth.
Yeah.
Excalibur, which I never saw.
Okay.
Did you ever see that?
When I was a kid.
I never saw it. Legend.
All right.
Year of the Dragon.
Okay.
And then... probably the weirdest one for a guy like this, Kenneth Branagh's Hamlet.
Oh, so, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, so the guy knows what he's doing. I mean, he's not some hack, and I think it's still Fincher shooting him. Well, we're just not going to agree. You don't like the way the movie looks. I love the way the movie looks. But you know, does this movie look any darker, grayer, blacker, more, you know, bluer than Seven? I mean,
No, it looks yellower.
like sepia.
Yeah, it looks like David Fincher shot this movie and then urinated on it, and that's the version we're watching.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you think anything about the score?
No, I fucking didn't, by the way. I saw an interview with I think it might have been on Wikipedia. The composer said that he recorded the score during the LA riots, and that's why it was so disturbing. And so I listened out for like all the disturbing parts of the score. It's the most generic score ever.
I mean, it's certainly not as distinctive as the first two, not even close, but there's some powerful moments, I think, when they're firing up the heat cylinders and all that. There's a lot of swirling violins that are very cool and some good horn stuff in there. It's Elliot Goldenthal, who did Drugstore Cowboy and Heat and Frida. The black marks on him are he did all the Schumacher Batmans.
Oh, that's all them. You mean the two?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. I mean, you know, that's what I got on the technicalities of it. But yeah. So for you though, you did say at the beginning of the show, you said Alien 3 would not be in the top 5 movies, safe to say, of anyone's evaluation of Fincher's work.
It's his worst movie by a lot.
Right. Now, having said that, do you still think, you know, it's... But you didn't say, like, it's a bad movie.
It's a watchable movie.
Yeah.
You know what it is? It's a 2.
Mm.
Let's just do that. It's nowhere close to a 1. It's nowhere close to a 3. It's a 2.
Wow. Well, we're probably going to...
It's right smack dab in the middle of 2. What, are you going to give this a 4 or something?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I am.
You maniac.
I am. And I mean, I'll save a lot of my vitriol for the next film. But...
I gotta say, as tough, I'll spoil this right now. Remember last week I was saying it's gonna be a real Sophie's choice for me, Alien or Aliens at the top of my list when we rank them in next week's episode.
Yeah,
it's gonna be the same with these two. I have no idea what I'm gonna put ahead of the other, Alien 3 or Alien
I just
Resurrection.
don't understand that. I feel like that's gonna come down to just purely personal taste.
Well, one of my heroes was involved in the making of Alien
I
Resurrection.
know that.
and has disowned the movie, but still.
Oh, I know, and wrote one of the... We'll get to it. We'll get to him. Hold on, because there's a great... Yeah. Well, okay. I mean, I don't know if there's anything else you want to say about it. Is there anything in Alien 3 you liked?
Yeah, I mean, I thought Sigourney Weaver gave a really confident, assured performance. I really like the Alien 3 Ripley. So she's my MVP.
Okay.
There were some. I mean, Jesus, Charles Dutton's pretty good. I always like him.
Yeah.
My favorite underrated Charles Dutton performance, I'll just give a shout out, is in the sadly forgotten CBS one season wonder, Threshold. Yeah, good show.
I thought you were going to say Rock.
Rock, sure. The great Rock. Oh. But let's be honest. Charles Dutton is who you get when you've already asked Lawrence Fishburne and Ving Rhames and they turned you down.
But he's very good in this movie.
He's always good. I also think...
I think Charles Dance is excellent.
Here's another underrated Charles Dutton movie. Ice-T's Surviving the Game.
I don't think I've ever heard of that.
Oh, Henry, it's a real most dangerous game situation.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's great. Ice-T, just fucking owning.
Okay.
Yeah, it was probably like a year after this.
Well, my MVP is Fincher.
Ugh. All right.
Because no, seriously, for fucking pulling this off, in my opinion,
Pulling it off. God, you are such a Fincher apologist.
And getting through it all and still putting together a movie that from the first time I saw it 25 years ago, I thought it was excellent, and I still really like it. I mean, this is a movie I've watched repeated amount of times. I mean, when you bought me that triple pack, I didn't really watch this any less than I watched the other two.
The CG is just too much for me.
Yeah. Well, my LVP is 20th Century Fox, and that came after watching that documentary.
Yeah, that's fair. That's very fair.
Yeah, I mean, for just fucking with him the entire time, and really fucking with a lot of people, like Michael Biehn and Carrie Henn and the editor and David Fincher and all the screenwriters involved. I mean, just a bunch of pricks making it difficult for everybody.
I mean, I guess my LVP is the visual effects guys. Or Fincher for deciding to use more CG. I just think the special effects are bullshit.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I could give it to the writers, too. They just the half-hearted HIV metaphor at the heart of this movie, which we didn't talk about. Like, they use the alien virus, like the chest burster stuff, as like a metaphor for AIDS.
That's one way to look at it, I guess.
It's such an early 90s thing to do, and it doesn't work for a single moment.
I didn't even think about that.
Oh, all right.
I might have read it, but that never really occurred to me. That's interesting. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Charles S. Dutton does have some great moments in this movie.
Sure he does.
I like his eulogy for Newt and Michael Biehn, which is also accompanied by a very powerful score. I like when he sacrifices himself in the lead works. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. You weren't on board.
No, and I tried. I couldn't get into it.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
I was a little disappointed because I was actually excited to watch it, like from a David Fincher fan perspective, and I remembered liking it when I saw it years ago. Maybe the VFX, the visual effects, didn't bother me back then because it was probably still like late 90s when I watched it.
Sure, yeah. Well, I told you that was the one thing that I was very surprised, even having watched it just a few years ago. I didn't really think about it, but when I watched it this time, I was like, oh boy.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, the alien at times, it looks like they're doing like a shitty version of the Velociraptor from Jurassic Park.
Yeah, well, we were like a year away from that, right?
Yeah.
All right, I got 4 superheroes.
Okay.
And they're pretty interesting. The guy who plays 85, which I thought was very funny.
Who's that?
His name's Ralph Brown. He's been in a billion movies. You've seen, you recognized him, right? I mean,
there were a lot of recognizable faces. There's actually one of my favorite character actors is in this movie, and he only has like 2 lines.
Oh, who?
He gets to attempt to rape Ripley. I wish Ripley wasn't under constant threat of rape in this movie. I don't need that. But yeah, an actor named Holt McCallany. He was later used by Fincher in Fight Club. So
yes.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of, you could tell that people still liked working with him, because I didn't write these down because that would have taken a whole other conversation. But there's several actors in this movie who did other work with him.
Charles Dutton pops up in Seven for a second.
That's right. And there's a couple other prisoners who do end up in later Fincher cameos. But anyway,
Holt McCallany, just real quick. Look that guy up on IMDb. He does not get enough work. His one lead role I've ever seen him in was in a great one-season FX show. It got canceled. A boxing show called Lights Out. If you've never seen that, try to find it. It's great.
Is he the guy in Fight Club who has like the scene as the bartender wearing like the neck brace and saying like,
no.
Okay.
He in Fight Club is the one. He has that whole monologue. I get it. In Project Mayhem, in Death, we have a name. His name was Robert Paulson.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, interesting. All right. So he's an American, one of the few.
I don't know if he is, but he certainly can do an American accent. I'm not 100% sure what he is, but he's great. Holt McCallany. What a name, too.
Yeah.
All right, who's this guy? Robert Brown, you said?
Ralph Brown.
Okay.
Who they keep calling 85. By the way, we got Pete Postlethwaite in this movie, too. I love him.
I like him a lot, too.
Oh,
he's
so
a
good.
really good actor. Would
Love
later
him.
show up in The Lost World Jurassic Park, and he's excellent in that, too.
So in so many good movies.
Yeah.
In the name of the Father.
So good in the name of the Father.
Yeah, he's phenomenal.
Yeah.
No longer with us. Last thing I think I
The
saw.
Town.
The Town. That's
Yeah,
right.
he's great in The Town. So good
Yeah.
in The Town.
He is. He's a guy who can play menacing and a guy who can play very sweet.
Absolutely. Great actor.
Okay,
R.I.P.
so Ralph Brown, 85. He is in Agent Carter as Dr. Feinhoff.
Oh, okay.
And then these two were just very interesting to me. I think it's a Pinewood Studios thing happening here. Two actors who were in the original Tim Burton Batman. In the first Batman, the very first muggers who mug the family and then have the conversation on the rooftop, there's a guy named Christopher Fairbank. He's a Brit, but is one of the muggers in the Batman movie.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he says, American Express card, don't leave home without it. Right before Batman shows up.
Sure, by the Joel Schumacher movies, they'd switch to MasterCard product placement.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And Leon Herbert, the other black fella in this movie.
Sure. The non-Dutton black guy?
Right, he is
Yeah.
also in that Batman movie. So I'm just guessing that's just an English Actors Guild thing going
Could
on
be.
there. And finally, my favorite one, playing one of the prisoners who I don't even believe has a single line of dialogue, this actor named Clive Mantle. He played, and I watched this, the deleted scenes from Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. He played the first nuclear man.
Oh, right! You told me about this.
Oh, where
Yeah.
he's like, they made him dress up in like black garbage pants, and it's just
Yeah.
hilarious. So
Pre-pillow.
Pre-pillow. He was the nuclear man.
Yeah.
Oh boy, where they have the fight outside the
Sure.
Burger King.
He's a
Oh.
pillow sham.
Yeah. That's really good. That's really good. All right, so that's the supers and the MV and LPPs, and the star ratings. You said 2, I say 4.
Yeah, I didn't... Yeah, we did it. Okay, that's Alien Cubed. You ready to move on?
I am.
Alien Resurrection by Jean-Pierre Jeunet.
Fuck.
And
Now I got to fanboy out about Fincher. Now you get to fanboy about Joss Whedon.
well, do you want to talk about Jean-Pierre Jeunet first?
Sure, we might agree on this fella. I don't know if we will. I unbeknownst to me, I had actually seen 2 of his films.
I've seen fucking a bunch of his movies.
Have you?
Yeah. I think he is an overrated director, but I have liked a couple of his movies.
So, what have you liked or seen?
Okay. I liked A Very Long Engagement quite a bit.
Never saw it.
Okay. See, he's a French filmmaker, and Alien Resurrection is his only Hollywood work. All his other movies were very tiny independent films. He's probably best known at this point for Amelie, which, women of a certain age love.
I fucking hate that movie. Yeah.
That's our friend Casey's theory.
Oh, is that his
Do you
theory?
know that he says that women of a certain age, you won't find one that doesn't love Amelie and Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Of course, I love Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless
Me
Mind.
too. But I found that to be true. Amelie.
Well, can I just say the other movie of his I've seen? Because there's only one other one.
Okay.
Delicatessen.
Okay, yeah, and that's not bad, right?
No, I didn't like it.
You didn't like it. I didn't love it either. I saw City of Lost Children.
I didn't see that, but I heard that that's really good.
That's interesting. It was on my top 10 list for whatever year that was. Granted, not a great year, but because I didn't love that movie, but it had some shit that stuck with me enough that whatever. So he's made some good stuff, some not so good stuff. I feel like since A Very Long Engagement, no one's really given a shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. He made a movie Micmacs that I don't even remember reading about.
I remember when that came out.
Me too. I remember seeing it on DVD at Barnes and Noble, but
right.
Yeah. But yeah, no one cared. But so this guy, he heads into Hollywood waters with his translator and makes Alien Resurrection, with a script solely credited to Joss Whedon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Joss Whedon, one of my heroes, of course. Always better when he's working with something he's created. I think he's less interesting when he works on pre-existing characters. So Alien Resurrection's obviously a case of that. I think his Avengers movies are good, but not super special. Whatever.
But he had control over those.
That's true.
And that, we'll get to it after you do this, when I get the stats out of the way.
Well, I will say one of the big problems with Alien Resurrection is Joss Whedon has a style. He can't help it. But he's one of these directors where everyone talks like a Joss Whedon character. And so when he did Avengers, he was able to direct everyone to do that. And as it turns out, Chris Evans and Chris Hemsworth and Robert Downey Jr. are really good at delivering Joss Whedon dialogue. Chris Hemsworth even did it another time in the great Cabin in the Woods.
Good call.
Yeah.
Forgot he was in there.
Yeah, and, so, at this time, it's 1997, Buffy had just premiered, so he wasn't a guy yet. I mean, I could list the Joss Whedon credits that I absolutely love. Cabin in the Woods, Buffy, Angel, Firefly, Dollhouse, Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog. So many. He did a lot of script doctor work in the 90s. He's not credited, but most of the dialogue in Speed is his.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep. Credited writer Graham Yost, who went on to create Justified, has said that it's like a crime against humanity that Joss Whedon didn't have a writing credit on Speed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He did a lot of script doctor work. He was nominated for an Oscar in the 90s for work on Toy Story. He wrote a bunch of stuff in Twister.
Okay.
Yeah, he did some work on the first X-Men movie. Famously, the line where fucking Cyclops asks Wolverine to prove it's actually him, and he says, "You're a dick."
Yeah.
That's a Joss Whedon line.
That's a great moment.
Yeah. So Joss Whedon has very much disowned Alien Resurrection. We'll get to that later.
Yeah.
But, sure. Joss Whedon, I'm as forgiving of him as you are of Fincher. And so one of the problems with Alien Resurrection, anyway, is that no one's doing his dialogue right.
Yeah.
I was watching this movie, and there are some lines that I feel like would have worked on the page.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds weird coming out of the actor's mouth.
Well, let me just tell you something. I was making a few notes, during the movie, and then that's when I found what I'm going to say. I would say bold statement city, but it's not really. It's just it made me feel so happy. I found Joss Whedon's full quote about this movie.
I have a number of quotes I want to read on the podcast.
Okay.
I did a deep dive. I know a lot about Joss Whedon, so I knew what interviews to look for where he talked about this movie.
Well, his opinion matched up exactly with my opinion. And I loved reading that. Everything he said, it was like a light bulb, and I was like, oh, okay then. That's where we are. And I still have other issues with the movie, but yeah. Well, which quote do you have? Do you want to just read it? Because I won't read it.
The
one that mine. Can I say which one mine starts with? The sentence.
Yeah.
Is it read the one that says it wasn't a question of doing everything differently?
Yeah, I have that one.
Please read that for our audience.
It wasn't a question of doing everything differently, although they changed the ending. It was mostly a matter of doing everything wrong. They said the lines, but they said them all wrong. And they cast it wrong. And they designed it wrong. And they scored it wrong. They did everything wrong they could possibly do. That's actually a fascinating lesson in filmmaking, because everything they did reflects back to the script or looks like something from it, and people assume that if I hated it, then they'd change the script. But it wasn't so much they changed it, they executed it in such a ghastly fashion, they rendered it unwatchable.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Yep.
Here's another one I've got.
All right.
Here. This is from 2001. I listened to half the dialogue in Alien 4, and I'm like, that's idiotic because of the way it was said. And nobody knows that. Nobody ever gets that. They say that was a stupid script, which is the worst pain in the world. I have a great, long, boring story about that, but I can tell you the very short version. In Alien 4, the director changed something so that it didn't make any sense. He wanted someone to go and get a gun and get killed by the alien, so I wrote that in and tried to make it work. But he directed it in a way that it made no sense whatsoever. And I was sitting there in the editing room trying to come up with loop lines to explain what's going on, to make the scene make sense. And I asked the director, can you just explain to me why he's doing this? Why is he going for this gun? And the editor, who was French, turned to me and said with a little leer on his face, because it's in the script. And and I actually went and dented the bathroom stall with my puddly little fist. I have never been angrier, but it's the classic, when something goes wrong, you assume the writer's a dork, and that's painful.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that he spoke up and spoke out about it.
Me too, and I'm so glad he's made it. I'm so glad Jean-Pierre Jeunet is off somewhere directing Micmacs, while Joss Whedon's directing the third highest grossing film ever made. Fourth, I'm sorry, Jurassic World.
Yeah, fucking A, man. I'm with you. And what's interesting too is that there's like the two different approaches where Whedon is a much more like in the media, speak your mind type guy, and he made it. And whereas
that's what hurt his career for a really long time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But also, I was just going to say, Fincher was like a 29-year-old music video director who went on to make it, but just simply also just disowned Alien 3 and never fucking talked about it. They asked him to come back, and would he be interested in doing a recut? No. And so they're just the two different artists' approaches, which I think are equally valid. One just fucking forget about it, and the other one just saying, oh, wait a second. It might be one that's because one's a writer and because one's a director. But good for both of them for coming out of these experiences on top.
Yeah, I think if Joss Whedon directed Alien Resurrection, it could actually have been really fun. Mm-hmm. But he hadn't really become a director yet. The first thing he ever directed was the season finale of the first season of Buffy.
Yeah.
He wasn't getting this.
Well, I put a massive amount of the fault of the shit that is this movie on the director, because this guy's working with Darius Kanji, the cinematographer who shot Seven, Panic Room, Midnight in Paris, Amour, The Immigrant. So he's worked with Fincher, he's worked with Woody Allen. This is a man with pedigree, and this movie should look good. And it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
It does not look good. And
it doesn't look much like anything.
That's correct. And there's a couple of shots where I think I saw the shot before I looked up the director, because sometimes I do the reverse. I don't look up the director right away. And there's I think it's when Dan Hedaya, who is just, God, I mean, the great Dan Hedaya.
He's in a different movie.
He sure is. And he rolls, hold on.
Yeah.
He rolls a grenade towards the camera. And I thought, who is this director that decided that was a good shot? And then I saw it was the director of Amelie and Delicatessen. And then I was like, oh, right, we like to roll cutesy objects towards the camera. And I mean, nothing makes sense.
There's one scene where Winona Ryder gets up from a table and throws something back down on the table, and it hits the camera. And that's the shot they chose to use.
Oh, the drink that she's drinking.
Yeah.
Or the boxing gloves or something.
Yeah, the boxing gloves. They whack the camera.
Ugh. I mean, he's just a nightmare, this guy.
Yeah.
Just a nightmare.
Well, it wasn't supposed to be him. It was offered to a few other directors before Junet got the call.
Okay.
It was offered to Danny Boyle, post-Trainspotting.
Oh, yeah, I read that.
And he chose to make A Life Less Ordinary instead.
You know what?
Another waste of your time.
I know. Normally I would make a comment, but I fuck.
Yeah.
I'm sure he does not regret that. So whatever.
And also offered to Peter Jackson, who turned it down. He was like, I don't make sci-fi. I only make movies if there's dwarves.
Now, this is pre-Lord of the Rings Peter Jackson, right? So he had actually done a good movie, I believe. He had done Heavenly Creatures.
Yeah, I think Alien Resurrection was right after The Frighteners. So
I remember that. That was fun.
Yeah, that's a good movie. I own it on DVD. Yeah. Yeah, Peter Jackson, famously a great filmmaker in the 90s with Dead Alive and Bad Taste and Meet the Feelies and Heavenly Creatures and The Frighteners. And then all of a sudden just decided, I only make movies with hobbits now. Ooh!
And he's done. I mean, in my book.
Oh, he's done. The last thing he's made that was remotely watchable was King Kong.
Agreed.
Yeah. Okay, so... Oh, I haven't done the stats.
No, you haven't.
It was released November 26th, 1997. I was there.
So was I.
Yeah, the only Alien movie I've seen in theaters.
There you go.
Yeah. Budget of $75 million. I mean, normally I wouldn't say that's like a crazy number, but Alien 3 didn't do that great 5 years earlier.
Right.
I mean, I remember when Alien Resurrection came out. No one was that pumped for it.
I remember too. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember they really tried to sell it on the back of Winona Ryder.
I don't remember that, but you could see that now. I could definitely
she was
make that.
all over the trailers.
Sure.
Yeah. And I was Winona Ryder fan number one. I think that might have been why I saw it in theaters.
Really?
Yeah.
I was just Alien fan number one. So
I know. I wasn't. I was I had a crush on her and stuff from back in Beetlejuice and Edward Scissorhands and shit.
Sure.
So I was down to see Winona Ryder.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember in the trailer there was that shot of Ripley about to chokeslam her like the Undertaker. and that sold me on it.
This is another movie where you got Brad Dourif, Ron Perlman, Leland
Brad Dourif
Orser.
dies far too early.
I agree. Leland Orser, Michael Wincott, Dan Hedaya. That's what's so, why Joss Whedon's quote is so good, because it's just like, it's not a bad cast. And
they're just miscast. It's all good actors.
Right. That's better put.
I just don't know what they're doing in this movie. Why is Dan Hedaya in this?
No fucking clue. Yeah.
He plays this role like he's a military commander in this movie, and he's acting like he's fucking Cher's dad from Clueless.
He's like the boss in Joe versus the Volcano. You remember his character in that?
Yeah.
I know he can do the job, but can he handle the job?
He's the only actor in this movie that thinks he's in a comedy.
That's very, very true.
Yeah. All right. So, whatever.
So you said it's you
$75 million budget, box office of 161.4. That's basically a flop. Like it made its money back.
Right.
Number 43 in the box office that year.
Good.
Just ahead of The Full Monty and Francis Ford Coppola's The Rainmaker.
Well, that's funny.
Yeah, but here's what's even funnier, because these are the two movies. This is gonna blow your mind, Hank. These are the two movies it's directly below in the rankings. It's number 43. So number 42 is David Fincher's The Game.
All right.
And number 41 is Ridley Scott's G.I. Jane.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
Isn't that interesting?
Amazing.
Wow.
Meanwhile, the highest grossing movie of this year, James Cameron's Titanic.
Wow. So we got all the alien guys on the list here.
Yeah.
But, wow. Quite a discrepancy going on.
Yeah, James Cameron is owning everybody.
Oh. And really has ever since, no?
Well, he's only made like one other movie.
Financially, I mean.
Yeah. Oh, financially, sure.
That's all I mean.
Ridley Scott.
Yeah, that's true. If you take his
Gladiator was a hit, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
No, I didn't mean. Yeah, no, that's a good point. Ridley Scott's made. So we talked.
The Martian was a big hit, right? Didn't that movie make like 600, 700 million?
Yeah, that was a big hit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but still, we're talking about Mr. I make $1 billion now on everything, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, he's made 2 movies in the last 20 years, and they're the top 2 highest grossing movies of ever.
Of ever. God. Now, you want to talk about, real quick, you thought Elliot Goldenthal's score was generic?
I think this one's better.
Oh, you're fucking nuts. You are fucking nuts. This is John Frizzle.
Frizzell.
I say Frizzle. Mm. And the only score of his of note leads me to believe that he should have stayed out of outer space and stayed in Office Space. Am I right?
Oh, how about that? Yeah, but no, who remembers the Office Space score? Everyone remembers the songs from that movie.
No, I of course, but I was when I saw the credit, I was trying to remember it, and I remember it. I remember at the beginning when Peter is in the traffic jam. And
how does it go?
Bum ba-dum, bum 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 ba-dum, bum bum.
Ooh, I do remember that.
Right?
Yeah.
That's my kind of sick musical memory for that. But yeah, that's it. That's it.
All right.
This score sucks.
Oh, okay, jeez. All right, so here's the plot. It's over 200 years after the events of Alien 3.
One of Daniel and I's favorite things.
Yeah, I fucking hate when they do that.
Just make it 1,000 years. Why not 3,000 years?
Yeah, it's 3,000 years.
It's 3,000 years after.
Yeah. There's apparently Popeye is still something people know. Because some dude whistles that song. So, it's over 200 years later. Ripley is now a clone of Ripley. And she's a hybrid clone because she has alien DNA in her, including the sort of the acid blood.
Right.
She's also super good at basketball now.
Great.
She's soups good.
Which must be the fact that aliens are good at basketball, right?
Definitely, yeah. That's what's giving her these super sweet basketball powers.
Who would have thunk?
Yeah.
They're also very good swimmers, so
I liked that.
they could be in the. I knew you were going to say that. That's what everybody says about this movie. Hey, remember the swimming scenes, though? Those were good.
I thought they were. I thought all the underwater stuff was good.
Well, in a movie like this, you grasp for whatever you can.
That's true.
Yeah.
All right? That is true.
Yeah.
So, what is it? It's like a military operation, but they're like making a trade with space pirates.
Yeah, it's essentially like a science ship that just has military guards on it, and they're trying to. The whole purpose is to clone Ripley, but they need human hosts, so they just hire these pirates, and they don't know what they know they're carrying human beings, but they don't know what it's for. They don't know anything. They deliver the humans, and then all hell breaks loose because the aliens break free of their prison.
Yeah, and there's like a dozen of them.
Yeah,
and including a queen. We got to check in with the queen. What's she up to these days?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what she's up to. Not laying eggs. She's got like full-on fallopian tubes in this movie.
Oh God.
We get to see the womb of the alien open up.
This is also. I mean, see, I don't. Did you say this, or you were more focused on the swearing? But you didn't mention the level of gore in Alien 3. But it ain't got nothing on this movie.
This is gross. It's grosser than Alien.
This is grosser. This is the kind of gross that just calls attention to itself that the previous Alien movies, in my opinion, didn't do necessarily. It wasn't something, in my opinion. I'm not saying don't have gross moments, but this movie just seems to revel in this cartoony, retarded, like when Leland Orser's alien busts through his chest, through J.E. Freeman, another good actor, through his mouth.
Oh yeah.
Jesus.
Well, and it was all supervised by the great visual effects supervisor, Pitoff.
Who the fuck is that?
All right, I'm fascinated with Pitoff.
Tell me about him.
Oh, his name is Pitoff. Just one name, Pitoff.
He's the opposite kind of Russian, like in the show The Americans, where they say everybody's name in full. He goes, Pitov.
He's a French fella. I like to picture him wearing like.
Oh, he's French. Okay,
yeah. He's Pitov. He works with Jean-Pierre, and he shows up to set in a beret and carrying a baguette.
He came off of the set of Sprockets.
Yeah, he goes over to Crafty, and the craft service guy's like got bagels out for breakfast, and he's like, "Oh, do you have a croissant?" Yeah.
Jacques Lefleur.
All right, so Pitoff, of course, the great visual effects supervisor, went on to direct one movie.
Oh boy, I can't wait.
Henry, Superhero Count.
I love surprises. Oh, I only did the actors, so.
Okay. Well, Pitoff directed the great Catwoman with Halle Berry.
Oh, wow. Oh, man.
Mm-hmm. Ooh. He knows his stuff.
He sure does.
And he knows his visual effects. Even the establishing shots in Catwoman look like VFX garbage.
I never saw Catwoman.
Dude, I watched it drunk. It was dynamite.
I bet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pitoff.
So, anyway. So what ends up happening in this movie is, Ripley meets the mother alien, and she's into it. So they fuck. Is it the mother alien or just a regular alien?
Well, they don't fuck, but
No, she bangs one of the aliens.
no, she doesn't.
Yeah,
No.
the alien puts his dick in her.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
You're talking about the scene where she's pulled under the grating and just falls into that pit of disgusting slime?
No, I'm not. Talking about the scene where she caresses the alien's face and basically makes out with it.
That's her grandson.
No, that's a different scene. That's when she commits incest.
I think you're talking about the scene where there's a shot of an alien carrying her, right? Carrying her to the queen or something like that.
Dude, she bangs an alien in this.
All right, I could care less, so I'm not going to argue.
And so then the mother alien gives birth to the dog-faced boy. And fucking Ripley immediately is like, let me fuck my baby now.
Oh.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh, man. I knew that the scene where that fucking hybrid alien was coming out, and I was just like, please don't have this scene. I've only seen this movie like once or maybe twice, parts of it twice, and I kept hoping. I was like, please don't let this scene be as long as I remember it being.
It's so long.
It's so long.
It looks like it's got like human eyes. It's got a little upturned nose, cute as a button. But it has like alien teeth, and it's a human alien basically.
Oh,
and
God.
It's gray for some reason. It looks gross.
Ugh.
And yeah, Ripley's
Fucking-
got to kill this baby.
Just fucking junk. Ugh. Yeah.
And then at the end of the movie, they see Earth, and they're gonna land on Earth, and it's like, oh, sweet, finally we get to see what Earth looks like in an alien movie. But then it just sets up a sequel, which we never got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Ooh. This movie was terrible. I mean,
Terrible.
it's absolutely terrible. Is that a question or was that a statement from you?
No, statement.
Okay.
Terrible movie. How about when the hybrid comes up to Ripley and sticks out its dog tongue and licks Ripley like like it's
Yeah,
a pet.
I mean, it's just so fucking stupid. I mean, it's just beyond dumb. And, I wanted your opinion on that. Now, you brought it up. I didn't make a note of it or anything, but I'll ask your opinion. What do you think at this point during, like, filming a movie like this? What do you think Sigourney Weaver's thinking?
I'm getting $11 million for this.
That's it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. She just never struck me as one of those type of actors, who just did shit for money. And I mean, I feel like she's committed in Alien 3, and she met David Fincher and got to work with him, so she probably had confidence, all right, they'll pull something out of this. But in this movie, she's got to know at some point, like, oh man, like having some Joss Whedon thoughts, no?
I don't know, man. Some people liked this movie when it came out. H.R. Giger said he thought this was a good one.
Yeah, he did. But, I don't know. Okay. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to talk shit about him, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Probably because it was so
Pitoff was
disgusting.
really proud of it.
Pitoff's a big fan.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, she made the movie. There's that scene where she plays basketball, and I read an interview where she was talking about how proud she is of that scene, and I'm like, what?
Because she made the shot.
Yeah, behind the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what did
Stefan Ripley.
I mean, what did they think?
I don't know. It got mostly bad reviews.
Yeah, it did. I mean, it didn't. Yeah, it's a shame to me. And I remember when you got me the triple pack, and I didn't we have one of our first conversations about universes of where I said something about no, that movie didn't happen. My Alien ends after Alien 3.
Yeah.
And you said no, it didn't.
I don't believe in that.
Right.
Canon is canon.
Right. And I even though I've still never seen the last Indiana Jones, like I was just already judging it, and I was just like, nope, that ended on with the Last Crusade.
Nope, sorry. Indiana Jones dealt with aliens. I apologize.
Yeah. Oh man. I mean, maybe we'll get, with all this craze now, next week we'll be covering Prometheus and the prequels, Prometheus and Alien Covenant. But maybe we'll get an Alien 5 with Ripley that can end on a better note.
I hope they bring back Call, my favorite character of the Alien series.
Oh, the paraplegic
Android Winona Ryder. Her name is Call.
Oh, right. That was.
Do you know about the whole ABCD thing?
Tell me.
You should know this as an Alien nerd, Henry.
Well, my nerdism on Alien does have its limits. Yeah.
The person who turns out to be the android in Alien is named Ash, and in Aliens it's Bishop.
Oh.
And in this it's Call, and then in Prometheus it's like David, I think.
That's right.
Yeah. How about that?
Well, they stopped that in Alien Covenant.
Well, just because David's back, right?
No, I'll spoil anything for you.
Oh, okay.
When you haven't seen it yet, right?
No.
Okay.
I'm waiting till we cover it this coming week.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, can we talk about before we wrap up? I just want to talk about the cast of this movie, because
sure.
I mean, say what you will about the movie, and it is a piece of garbage. Like, the cast is great.
Yeah, I agree. I said that already, but yeah, continue.
Just a couple of the players here. You got, I mean, Dan Hedaya. They're good actors. I don't understand why they're not good in this. Who's the head of the Pirates? That guy's really good.
Michael Wincott, man.
What did he get his start in? He's got some early movies in his career that I'm like a big fan of. Oh, he's the villain in The Crow. I know that, but
I'm looking at him right now.
is that gonna figure into your superhero count?
No. But okay. I'm just seeing what you're talking about. Yeah, I mean,
he's in Talk Radio.
Yeah, he's in Born on the 4th of July. He's in The Doors.
Yeah.
He's in a ton of shit.
He's in he's in Dead Man. Jim Jarmusch's Dead Man. He's in
Basquiat.
He's in a bunch of indie movies.
I remember him very much in Strange Days. I remember him in that. He has a big role in that.
And I remember him in Before Night Falls too.
Yeah, he's a cool actor.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah.
So yeah, that guy. And I'm always appreciative of Ron Perlman.
Sure.
I think he's my MVP in this movie.
Yeah, well, I don't have one, but if I had to pick one, it would probably be him, because he does have one of the only moments I liked, which was when they all pulled guns on them in the basketball gym.
Yeah.
And Ron Perlman turns around, takes the gun from the soldier, and
then throws it back to him. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I enjoyed that too. Brad Dourif, of course, the voice of Chucky. But a great actor in his own right. Should very much be in this movie more. My favorite Brad Dourif performance is in Deadwood.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I will never forget him as the racist sheriff in Mississippi Burning.
Fuck yeah, dude, he's great in that.
Yeah, he's really a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah,
he's fantastic.
Really good actor. And I mean, I can't.
Oh, and wait, I'm sorry. How could we forget where he got his start? In One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Billy Bibbit.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So there's no shortage of good actors and talent behind this movie. It just doesn't work on any level. You know who else is in this movie? Tuco from Breaking Bad.
I noticed that.
Yeah.
Which, of course, I wouldn't have known the last time I saw this.
Yeah,
and
me
I was
neither.
like, oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And J.E. Freeman, who was a great villain in Miller's Crossing.
Oh,
Remember-
okay. No, I
Remember
don't.
him in Miller's Crossing?
No, I'd have to rewatch it.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah. We watched
Two
that together.
Coen Brothers crossovers. You got Dan Hedaya from Blood Simple.
Sure.
And J.E. Freeman in Miller's Crossing. I mean, like you said. Yeah.
It's a fine cast.
Fine cast.
Unfortunately, not a good movie. I'm gonna give it a 2.
I this is tough. I wanted to give it a 1, and I feel like I should. I feel like I should still give it a 1, but I wrote on my paper 2.
Yeah, I mean, it made. I think I chuckled a couple times. I do like the underwater alien stuff. That looks cool. The special effects are so much better in this one than in Alien 3.
I don't necessarily.
It's night and day.
Well, I don't agree with that because I don't like how they look, so it doesn't really matter to me. But if I'm giving it 2, it's the worst, one of the worst 2 stars I've ever given.
It's 2. It's a solid 2 for me. I liked Brad Dourif torturing the alien. That scene I thought was good.
We're a fast learner.
Yeah. I enjoyed that. There are a few things I enjoyed in this movie. But I mean,
but you're equating it on a star ranking with Alien 3.
Yeah, I think it's about exactly as good as Alien 3.
Yeah, I can't. No way.
Yeah.
That's a Fincher Whedon thing going on there between us.
I think we're probably overrating both of these movies. But at least I gave my Whedon one a 2.
Well, because I strongly feel that I really like Alien 3. There's nothing, you know what I'm saying? That's a genuine feeling. So, yeah.
Sure.
Well, my LVP for this movie is that fucking director.
Jean-Pierre Jeunet.
Yeah, he's the clear LVP.
Yeah, he's my LVP too. Yeah. And of course, Ron Perlman, my MVP, which brings us to your superhero count, I assume?
Yeah, and I don't know how to go about this.
You have 1,000?
No, I have 5, which isn't an issue, but Ron Perlman, holy fuck. I'll do him last, and I'm going to just zip through it. All right? All right, Dan Hedaya was in an episode of Gotham.
Oh, okay.
Brad Dourif was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, I kind of remember that. I think I was still watching at that point. I think he was a Hydra guy. I could be wrong.
Thomas Nash, whoever that is. Yeah, he was the character he played.
Okay.
The guy who played Christie, the guy with the guns who shoot out of his arms in this movie, played by an actor named Gary Dourdan.
God, that's stupid.
Yeah, it was. He was in Lois and Clark.
Okay, yeah.
And our old friend and another actor who we didn't really get into at all, but Leland Orser, Fincher favorite Leland Orser.
Yeah, he's in a few Finchers, isn't he?
The one that comes to mind is Seven.
I just remember him losing it in one scene in Seven,
which is what he does in this movie. Which is I don't know. I should have looked if he's in other Fincher. I thought he was. I'd have to. Well, why not? I'll just look him up real quick because I'm curious. That I'm curious, but
sure.
He's a good actor. I mean, he's
Leland Orser,
Jean Triplehorn's spouse. I always thought that
he always plays like a scared guy.
Yeah, exactly.
If you ever need a dude to be like freaked out by something, get Leland Orser.
Yeah. Well, I'll say his superhero movie.
Okay.
And by the way, no, that was never in another Fincher film. Okay.
Okay.
But this was a superhero count for sure. He was in the movie Daredevil.
Really?
He played Wesley, the Kingpin's.
Oh, sure, he did. Yeah. I'm looking through. I remember him popping up and shit, but like,
yeah, exactly.
He's just a guy that shows up and is interesting and then leaves.
Right.
He's in all the Taken movies. I've never seen any of them, so.
Oh, I don't remember him in that. I only saw the first one.
I guess we'll cover him then.
Sure.
Yeah.
So then we come to Ron Perlman, and I don't know how else to do this, but to tell you that live action Ron Perlman, otherwise known as Tom Waits lookalike.
Yeah. Or caveman lookalike.
Right. Well, it was his first movie, right?
Quest for Fire. Yeah, and apparently didn't work for a long time after that. And his breakout role really was in the Beauty and the Beast TV show.
I remember that.
And supposedly, the guys who worked on that and the director of Quest for Fire knew each other, and they said they were looking for a guy to play the Beast, and that guy who directed Quest for Fire was like, you know who acts well in tons of makeup is this guy I know, Ron Perlman. Yeah.
Well, speaking of tons of makeup, he's obviously Hellboy.
Yeah.
He's in Blade 2.
Well, Guillermo del Toro connection, right?
Right. He was apparently in the Conan the Barbarian remake.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then we got what was rather daunting to write down, but
animated shit. He's got one of those voices.
Load.
Yeah.
A shitload. I'm just gonna name. I'm not gonna name the movies. All right. I'm just gonna.
He sounds like James Remar or something.
Yeah. Right. I'm just gonna name the characters he's played.
Okay.
In a myriad of movies. Deathstroke, Clayface, Wizard Hulk, regular Hulk, Jax-R from a Superman movie. I presume that's Jax-R. Killer Croc, Bane, played a character from Injustice League called Orion.
Yeah, that's a character.
Another character called Dr. Double X.
Jesus.
He's played Alfred Pennyworth, which is kind of hard to believe, and Sinestro. So he's played like a ton of major characters.
A lot of villains.
A lot of villains. And then in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, one of the cartoons, he played a character named Armagon.
Armagon, all right.
Megan, who the fuck knows? So that guy, a lot of superhero work. Yeah.
All right.
That is it.
That's it for this week. Come back next week. We'll be talking Prometheus and Alien Covenant, currently in theaters.